Hello, welcome. In this video we'll see how to use Navisworks for quantifying the scope. In the previous video I showed how to do that in Revit. Now we'll see how to do it in Navisworks and see how efficient and how much it was designed with in mind the target is to support the construction professionals to do that. While Revit is designed to be a design modeling software. So we'll see the difference. In this video we'll see how to do that in Navisworks. We have here the Revit model, and to move the Revit model or the BIM model of the project from Revit to Navisworks, we'll use external tools. But before that I have to put a disclaimer there that I did some cleaning of the model, so I did hide some of the reinforcement of the walls. So when I export it to Navisworks, it will not be shown there for different reasons, because for the exercise I want to focus only on the concrete elements, or the element as represented as a concrete body, instead of confusing the view with a lot of the rebar details and all of that. So just a disclaimer, I did hide some of the elements in this original file, so when I move it to Navisworks it will be easier to follow. So when I export to Navisworks, and by the way, your Revit might not have this add-in enabled or installed, so it depends on the installation of Revit you have. So it will ask me where to save. I will call this the project name, and then there are some settings here I will not go over, but I will keep it for the default, and then I will save it here. So I will save this file, Navisworks file. There are different formats, but this is the one that you export from Revit, so it takes some time. This is considered to be a light BIM model. So once I'm done here, then I go to Navisworks, and this is kind of the user interface, but to open a file it's called like appending data or appending the geometry. And I see here this is the file I exported, and here you go, this is the model. It's the same that was shown in Revit. Again, you can use the wheel to zoom in and zoom out. You can use shift and clicking on the wheel to pivot and see it from different angles. You can use the wheel as a pan tool, and you can see there is kind of, it's the same model, just lighter. So the benefit of Navisworks is that regardless of even for big model sizes, it's very efficient in navigating the models, and even building on top of them some of the analyses that construction needs. For example, quantification, like we'll see. There is the simulation, clash detection. So Navisworks is a very efficient tool to access the BIM model for construction professionals. So the interface here includes two main parts. I will close here this lower part. I'll show it later. But there is the selection tree and the properties. The selection tree here is showing how the project is broken down by levels, and then within each level what elements belong to this level. How Navisworks know that? It's because of the data passed to it from Revit is organized this way. So when we place elements in Revit, we place it relative to levels, and this is how Navisworks follow or categorize or organizes the project elements into this hierarchy by levels. So for example, I can select the foundation level and it will select all the elements linked to it. I can expand the foundation, select all the structural columns, and it will select the structural columns in the foundation level. So this way it's allowing you to pick groups of elements in a very organized way. On the other side here, the properties. So when I select an element, it will show the different properties that came with it in the BIM model. So I will leave you to explore it on your own for the time limitation we have. So this is the main interface that we will deal with. Another thing I wanted to show you is when you select an element and you click Shift and then click it again, it selects, give you multiple different type of selections. So now it selects everything in the model. You can see it kind of, when I use Shift, holding Shift while I select or click on elements, it digs into this selection tree from the upper level, which is the overall project. Then if I click Shift again, and then it will go down level, which is level 2 now. So it selects all the elements of level 2, which is the same as that element that I'm clicking. If I click again, it will select the similar elements of that, or all the elements under the same family type in the level 2. And then if I click again, it will dig deeper and deeper and deeper until I go back to the main element that I was clicking on. So Shift is going to be handy for you to select elements at different hierarchy of the project. So remember this tip here. So now this is over. We're done with kind of a quick overview of like what is the Navisworks interface. Now let's go into the real thing for this video, which is the quantification. So if you go here, you can access quantification panel by going to Home, Quantification, or you go to View, Windows, and then Quantification Workbook. So I'll go from the easy one, the Home, Quantification. Sheet browser, you can close that for now. And then the next thing would be to set up your the quantification session or the tool here. So it will ask you to show some tutorials. You can say remind me later, and then it will say now it knows that you're doing quantification for construction purposes, for cost estimation, quantity takeoff. So construction people follow different standards of breaking down the scope of a building, uniformat or master format, CSI 16 or 48. So uniformat, I will give here some quick background. Building classification systems can be either uniformat or master format. There are so many other systems, but in the US these are the common ones. Uniformat is breaking down the building and classifying it from the point of view of physical parts, floors, foundation, but master format breaks down the project from the point of view of the construction materials and trades. So for example, an exterior wall from the master format point of view will be represented by 3 divisions, wood, insulation, and drywall. But in the uniformat it will be represented by only one level or one element, which is exterior wall. So this is master format. As the latest one is 49, but when it started with 16 divisions. So these are the 16 divisions, and then they expanded it and changed it a little to include other divisions. Building system change and smart buildings kick in, different type of systems. The first 14 divisions, some of these divisions, the first one is general requirements, but for building elements, you start from division 2 all the way to the end. This is where actually you're modeling or covering the scope, the physical scope of the building. For uniformat, you're breaking down the scope by big parts of the building, substructure, shell, interiors, services, equipment, and special construction and demo. And within each, there are different levels. So for example, substructure, it has foundation, basement, and then foundation, it has standard foundation, special foundation, slab and grade. And you can see its upper level is A, and then you move into like A10, A20, and then within A10 it's A1010, A1020, and you keep going like this. So this is just showing part or kind of a small window of this classification system. There are different deeper levels and more detailed levels of modeling the building components. So going back to Navisworks, for us here, we're kind of simulating the point of time in the project where you're doing the construction support or services to a design team. So you're doing, for such cases, you're following uniformat typically. You don't go into details of work packages, or you mainly focus on assembly-based estimates. So what we'll do is we'll use uniformat. And then the measurements for this project, it's metric, so I'll comply with that. And next, we'll just follow the standard units used here. You can change it, but again, it's once you select metric, it gives you the standard units for that measurement system. And you will say finish, and here you go. You see now there's this quantification workbook, and it gives you. It's very similar to what we have seen. This is the uniformat breakdown, and I can dig deeper and deeper into the different levels of it. This is the workbook, and then there is an item catalog, which has the same look as the quantification workbook. Catalog is just it's catalog. You define in it the structure, the WBS or work breakdown structure following the uniformat breakdown classification. You can add to it, which we'll see, and then in the workbook you start assigning building elements to that and doing the quantification of their scopes. Resource catalog is something advanced, so you can break down each type of resource into sub-resources. So for concrete you can define cement, aggregate, sand, water as resources for such work. So we'll not go into that level of or advanced level of quantification or estimation here. To kind of try to match to the video of quantification and to Revit, the material takeoff, we will do similar scope or similar elements that we've done there, which are floors. So in floors, if you remember, we had these concrete slab on grade floors, and then there is the plywood, and if I go down, there is rigid insulation. So we want to deal with these in terms of quantifying their scope, finding different quantities for each. But to do that, I have to match them or assign them to different classes or groups into my catalog. So the way we'll do it is for concrete, these floors, they're actually slab on grade. So I will go to substructure, and then foundation, and then slab on grade. So I'll assign to them to here. But I will create a category or a group under this. So I will create new group. New group is just a way to combine elements under your classification that have different similar locations, similar material, and I want to group them so I can get a kind of a summary quantities for all of them. So I will do new group, and I will call this cast in place concrete floor. So, this is the for these elements here, and then this one here is the plywood sheathing. So I will deal with it as in section. I will assign to section B, the shell, and this is superstructure, and then floor construction. So I will assign the plywood sheathing and the rigid insulation to that section here in the catalog. So I'll make a new group, and then I will say plywood sheathing, other group, and I'll call it rigid insulation. And you see it gives it it digs deeper in the code of the WBS. So I set up my catalog to put or assign into it the different elements that I want to cover in this video. Of course, you can do the whole project and create different catalog groups for it. So starting with the concrete here. So I select an element and then I highlight the group that I want to assign it to, and then I can go to here and say take off to selected. So meaning that take off this element to the selected group. And then if I click that, it will give you an error because I will not say here. I will share the explanation with you right away. So you cannot assign instances to a group for quantification. This is an instance, so I have to actually, if I go to the selection tree, which is why it's important to understand, is that this white kind of square shape, this means it's an instance. So I want to select its family type and then assign that to the group of the quantification. So when I do that, now it accepts it. So this is very important. You are assigning family types, not instances, to your quantification workbook. And once you assign it, then it can pull all the geometric properties of this instance. And then so far it's one element, but if I select the other two elements, so I have here, I select the higher level of this, and then I add it to, take off to this one. You can see I moved from one element to two elements, and my total quantities for the different attributes, if I move to, let's say, the area, it's adding up in terms of for the whole group, adding up these area values for anything under this group. You can see the colors of the elements that I add are changing. So let me add first the third slab on grade, and again making sure I'm selecting the family type, not the instance, and then add it to the group. Now I have three elements here, they're highlighted. A good practice is when you assign elements to your workbook and having all the quantities considered already, you can hide them from the model, from the view. So it's kind of dropping it out of your eyesight so you can focus on other elements that need to be considered in the quantification. So this is for the slab on grade. Now I can do the same for the plywood sheathing. So I'll go to highlight the group of the plywood sheathing, select the family type of that element. The problem here, it's when I select this family type, it's in level 2. So this one here is at different levels. So that's the issue here, that you have to do it level by level. So in this case, I will select the family type of this sheathing in level 2, and then assign it to here. And then so you've seen it disappears because I have this high takeoff option selected. Then I select the plywood here, go a little up level here, and then assign it. It disappeared and revealed the rigid insulation. So now I go to rigid insulation, and then I say take off to selected. Oh, again, I forgot. It always happens. So I didn't go up a level, so I need to select the family type, not the instance, and then take off to select it. So that's kind of an overview how to quantify the elements that you had. And then one thing also you can do after you do all of that in Navisworks is you export this estimate now, this quantification, into an Excel sheet. So I can do that into my documents, or you know what, let's do it in the folder I had originally, and it will ask you open the file. Yes. And you can see here it has the breakdown of, that we selected, the uniformat, and then they're mostly empty except for the parts that we have done so far. And they have all the quantities that we might be useful or handy for us when we do the cost estimates and do cost rates and figure out eventually the total cost. So super efficient. You can see now the difference between Navisworks and Revit, how we quantify scopes in both. Navisworks was designed with mind to help construction professionals in their cost estimation and quantity takeoff tasks. So try it out on your own. Figure out maybe you can take off or quantify for the foundation, walls, piles. So try this on your own, and it will be fun. Thanks for watching.